According to an antibody survey, coronavirus cases in Tokyo may have jumped ninefold since last summer. Random testing in Japan's capital city showed that 0.91% of people had antibodies. Tests done later in June showed an increase in antibody rates in the city. The study sampled more than 15,000 people. Japan is witnessing a downward trend in new coronavirus cases, but the country's government has called on everyone to remain cautious. Japan has extended the state of emergency until the 17th of March in Tokyo, Osaka and 8 other prefectures. The extension comes as questions persist over the country's readiness to host the Olympics, which are scheduled to be held in Tokyo this summer. Now, around one-third of the country's cases were recorded in Tokyo. The country's medical system remains under pressure after it recently saw a huge surge in COVID-19 cases. Japan's third wave was the most lethal, which witnessed the highest daily cases. The country has recorded more than 390,000 COVID-19 cases, and more than 5,800 people have died due to the virus in Japan. Earlier today, our correspondent Grace Lee joined us from Tokyo for more on this. Listen in.
Only about 1% of the population has antibodies. Now, as you mentioned, authorities are asking people to remain vigilant as they say that those antibodies can go away. People will not be immune to the virus. And the government here has really been trying to ramp up measures to ensure that the spread does not go any quicker than what we're seeing right now. There are several measures put in place right now. The state of emergency being extended. They've already put in a revision to a coronavirus law that would allow authorities to fine people who don't follow COVID measures. Restaurants are being asked to shut down early. People are being asked to work from home as much as possible. The government can't stress this enough that people need to bear with them for just another month to see cases go down. For the past few months, we have been seeing some encouraging signs. COVID cases have been on a downward trend. However, hospitals are still at capacity. Death toll is still rising. So there is a lot to be managed here by the government, and they're asking for the public's cooperation in this. Well, the Japanese government and Japan's prime minister have been adamant throughout that Tokyo will be able to host the games safely. Just 2 nights ago, we saw the Olympics committee releasing their playbook on how they'll be able to do so. Some of the guidelines outlined in that playbook included testing athletes before and after they arrive in Japan, giving them additional tests every 4 days, and keeping athletes in a sort of a bubble, not allowing them to use public transport or to mingle with spectators. So they are starting to lay out some concrete plans on how to host these Olympics, but it's not clear if the public is on board with this. Recent polls have shown that about 80% of the Japanese public do not want the games to be hosted. As we continue to see those death toll numbers climb and, of course, the extension of the state of emergency, it's only meant that the public is more and more nervous about the prospect of having international spectators coming in, having athletes come in, especially with doctors and nurses here saying that they're too tired to volunteer for the Olympics as well. That is posing another major question on how the Olympics will be held with this shortage of medical staff. So just a lot of things to deal with for the IOC and for the Japanese government, with just about 6 months away until the Olympic Games are set to be held.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.